This class is on the topic of strategic management. Now you'll see from the slide that it's part 2 of 3. So there are three videos in this set dealing with strategic management. This is the second one. So, external analysis. Well, when devising a strategy for a business, the managers must be aware of the external environment and must be in a position to do some sort of analysis of the external conditions confronting the business. They must be in a position to resource the investigation into the external environment and also have the analytical capability to analyze and draw valid conclusions from their analysis based on observations, based on data, based on research. So external environment in terms of strategic formulation and the choice between competitive strategies, the external environment is a very important issue to bear in mind. It's an analysis of the external environment is done to discover the opportunities and threats that are evolving and that need to be addressed by the organization. By and large, we don't live in a static world. We live in a world that's typified by a lot of change and technological progress. We have new technologies and new products, new ways of living, new fashions. We have better communications and higher expectations of companies and of governments. So given all of this that has been taking place, companies must develop strategies that are able to cope with these various demands, these various requirements, if they are going to be successful. Of course, on top of all of this, they've also got their competitors to worry about and the issues surrounding new product development, as well as issues surrounding the most basics like funding and cash flow and so on. So external analysis is an extremely important part of strategy formulation, and it needs to be taken into account. So the role of external analysis, well, first of all, it's necessary to decide where to compete, which market, what product, which market. It may be that the market is overseas, for example. We have experienced a lot of globalization and outsourcing businesses and production to different countries and so on. So we have also built up quite a lot of experience of dealing with other countries and quite a lot of information about dealing with them. So where to compete is not as simple as saying compete domestically. It may be compete domestically, but it may be a lot more taxing and involve a lot more, because it may involve overseas markets and perhaps several overseas markets. And related to that, it's necessary to decide how to compete. Will the competition be on price, or will it be on image, style, reputation, quality? So how to compete? What factors should be emphasized in terms of positioning the product in the market? And what's the basis of competition? Is it on price? Are the customers very sensitive to price, or are the customers looking for quality and uniqueness and image and reputation? So dealing with this, there's the problem of trying to identify all of the factors and all of the information that companies can collect about different markets. Look at the trends and the future events. We can't say categorically that a trend will continue. We can only hypothesize. We can imagine that the trend may continue. Of course, trends may dip. They may be upward sloping for a long time and the company feels optimistic, and then suddenly it dips. because perhaps some celebrity has come out against the product. It could be. In which case the product dips. That's not the company's fault. But the company has to be aware of the fact that the trends do not continue ad infinitum. So the company has to be aware of the threats and the opportunities that are associated with the market, but also realize that the market may be highly variable and that the customers in the market may be extremely sophisticated, who are aware of what the company is producing, they're aware of the quality, and they're also aware of what the competitors are doing. So there are strategic uncertainties associated with dealing with markets. Customers are very well attuned in terms of communications networks, social media. Information is readily available about products and about their experience of using the products. There are very active forums associated with many products. And this means that the company must be aware of what the customers are saying and address any issues if they are to successfully compete in the market. So it's a question of identifying issues and then feeding those issues into the strategic decisions. The information that's been collected from the market and analysed from the market, this is what will form the basis of the strategic decision. Of course, it doesn't feed directly in, it feeds in through analysis, and the analysis will have its own information requirements, and it may be a scenario analysis or it may be a statistical analysis. It can be all sorts of analysis may be appropriate. Depends on the product, depends on the market, depends on what's trying to what the management is trying to discover. It depends on what they're looking for. So it's a question of identifying even the right sort of analysis. Having collected the information, how should, or the data to be more precise, having collected the data, how should they process the data into the information that's necessary for them to make effective decisions. So really, the data from the market, identifying trends and looking at the threats and the opportunities and so on, that can go directly into strategic decisions, but it may also take a detour through some sort of analytical processing to try and make sure that the interpretation of what the data was suggesting is accurate and is based on hard calculations. So this would be our external analysis, picking up information from the market, doing some market research, talking to customers, making observations about trends, look at the type of products in the market, look at what the competitors are doing. It's all external analysis, but also looking at government policy towards business and the demographics of the population and so on. All external. It's a question of trying to identify the trends and the patterns within all of that amount of information, that extremely large amount of information, trying to identify the precise information that the business needs. And that is complicated. It takes a good researcher to try and figure out exactly what the business needs. Having done it, it may be analysed and it will feed into the strategic decision. So we have customer analysis. Well, the customer analysis could deal with segments of the market. There are different types of customer who have different requirements. The customers may be in segments based on age or gender or where they live, education, occupations. There are different ways in which we could look at customers, and the business should select the appropriate one. Look at the motivation of the customers to purchase or to perhaps save. It depends on perhaps what's happening in the macro economy. If there's a lot of unemployment around, then customers may be reticent to spend. Now, unmet needs. It's very difficult to measure unmet needs because they haven't been met. But unmet needs is really what the business is looking for. They're trying to determine what the needs of the customers are. But sometimes, if it's a new product, the customers have no experience of the product, so they don't necessarily have a need for the product because they've survived up to now without it. But if the product was there and they had experience of using it, then it could become an important item for them. So it's a question of trying to determine the unmet needs of the customers. Of course, a very difficult thing to do. Probably best done if the customers were, let's say, interviewed, and as a part of the interview were shown pictures or a video or perhaps even a model of the product and asked if they would be interested in purchasing such an item if it was available. And that may be some indication as to their responses to the product. Now, competitor analysis. Well, try to identify the competitors. Just simply work out who the competitors are. Again, it's getting complicated because it's not just the competitors domestically, it's competitors around the world because we live in a globalized world where trade is coming from all countries just about. Look at the strategic groups as well. Sometimes companies cooperate and they may be helping each other to enter different markets and arranging almost swap deals with each other, in the sense that if one company helps the other with transport, they'll help that company with warehousing. So there are strategic groupings amongst the competitors that must be identified also. Look at the performance of the competitors. How many have gone bankrupt recently, or how many are growing or appear to be prosperous? How many are investing currently or opening new businesses or new outlets? And look at the image that they have managed to build up. Is it a reputable image? Is it one that signifies quality? It flags up quality to the customer. Or is it one which is based on quantity? Just produce a lot with very little markup. What are the objectives that they're trying to pursue? What are they just trying to do? Are they trying to grow? Do they want to diversify? Do they want to improve their image? What evidence is there of their current strategy? It may be manifest through an analysis of their marketing program, or it may be through perhaps some expansion that they're going through. So try to work out their strategies. Where are they likely to be in a few years' time? Will they be still around? Will there be still something or an organization to be taken into account in a few years' time? But also look at the competitor culture. See if they're quite aggressive or if they're prone towards price wars. How do they respond to cuts in prices? How do they respond to the company entering different markets, and what's their response? How do they cope with this? What's their reputation for their labour relations in that area? What's their reputation for developing a product, or do they simply want to imitate or copy existing products? Do they do a lot of research? What sort of culture is the business? And what are their strengths and weaknesses? Try to work out what they are particularly good at and what they're weak at. Try to do a list. Try to brainstorm colleagues, managers within the business, Ask them about their perception of the competitors and what they're doing and what products they have brought to market and what the customer's perception of those products are. So try to pick up information about them, because that will help to fashion the strategy of the business itself. Market analysis. Well, look at the size of the market. If it's a very small market, it may not justify significant investment. The returns simply would not be there. It's a small market. So look at the size and look at the opportunities for perhaps operating internationally to extend the market that way. Try to work out projected growth. If the business starts, how will it grow? What projected growth can be imagined? And it's also imagined but realistic, not fantasy. So what is the projected growth of the business? And of course, profitability. Will the business be profitable? It's such a basic question, but it has to be asked and it has to be answered. And what are the assumptions that are made in assuming that it would be profitable? Look at ways of stopping competitors coming in, particularly if the company is coming up with a new idea. Is it possible to take legal protection for the idea? Let's say have a patent on the idea or copyright it, so that if they do copy it, there is a legal basis for claiming against them. Look at key success factors. Whatever the key success factors are, try to identify these. What is it that enables the business to satisfy the market? Is it the price they're charging, the value for money, the aftercare service, the contact with the company, the quality of the product, the durability? What is it exactly? What's the success factor? Which one applies in the market? Which one can the company build on most successfully? And try and work out costs very carefully, including overheads and the way costs are apportioned, the way fixed costs are apportioned over different departments. So there is a realistic costing of the product, and it means that simple mistakes can be avoided. The price must cover the variable cost. If it doesn't cover that, every item produced will cost the business money, and that's a recipe for disaster. But if it covers the variable cost, then it's making a contribution towards the overheads. So what's the break even for the product? Try to work out the break even so that the company knows how many items they need to sell before they go into profitability. And look at the distribution system. Look at the way in which the product is moved from the company to the customer. Look at the outlets that are used. It may use retailers or wholesalers. It may be direct selling to the public. It might use the internet as a means of distributing the product and marketing it. Try to work out the advantages and disadvantages of each, so that the exact choice is based on calculation, not on surmise. Environmental analysis. Well, do a PEST, a politics, economics, a social and a technological analysis of the environment in which the business is situated, to see what threats exist within the environment and also what advantages or opportunities exist within the environment. Look at the demographics of the market. Is it an aging market? What segment of the market is the product appealing to? What gender, male or female? What age group? What is the market in which it's operating? Is it a high-tech market? Is it fashion? Is it something for school, for college? What is it exactly? What is the demographics, and what's the fashion and the trends within that particular segment of the population? And try to develop scenarios, most optimistic, optimistic, moderately pessimistic, very pessimistic. Look at the different scenarios and try to work out what will happen should one of these arise, so that the company has a strategy if confronted by something very adverse, and they're able to turn around from a situation which is very negative to one which is positive in a short space of time. And look at the information need areas. What information does the management need specifically? What's the core information that's required? There might be a lot of information within the market, and a lot of information may be picked up from a survey of the market. But what information does the management need specifically? For example, attitudes towards pricing, disposable incomes in the area, fashion trends, health and safety issues. Look at all of the absolutely vital information that the management need to know before entering a particular market. Look at performance analysis. Look at profitability, for example, and try to work out how profitable the whole exercise will be. Not just the break-even analysis I mentioned earlier, but try to work out a possible, for example, cash flow statement, or even some sort of product statement where all of the costs and overheads associated with producing the product can be entered onto a simple account to try and work out over a long period of time what's the likely profitability of that. Look at the sales and try to determine what factors underpin sales. Threat of unemployment in the area, inflation, disposable income, taxation, the working population, the skill sets of the workers. Try to work out what is it that will determine the sales for the product, and what is it that gives satisfaction to the customers. For example, good quality, good after sales service, contact with the business, durability of the product. But how is that measured? It's probably measured subjectively by the customers, but it's important to contact the customers and get feedback directly from them. Also with some suggestions for improvement, perhaps. Don't necessarily go looking for compliments. Go looking for the criticisms as well, because the criticisms will help the business refine the product. Look at the product quality. Look at the reputation in the market. And look at the processes that need to be instituted within the company to bring about good quality. It may adopt a policy of total quality management, or it may adopt some other policy which ensures regular scrutiny of the product to make sure that it is good quality. And try to think about new products and bringing online new products, because that is the future of the business. Most products will have a product life cycle, at the end of which the products will die in the marketplace. They will not sell. So it's important that the company has a program of introducing innovations and change and new products over a period of time, and these should be built into some strategic plan. But bear in mind the capability of the employees. Look at the skill sets amongst the employees. Look at what they can do. And look at what training programs are required, bearing in mind that training programs are expensive. But what training programs are in mind? What's the labour turnover? What's the age profile of the workforce? And is it worthwhile engaging in a lot of retraining for people who are about to retire? So look at the capability of the workforce. And look at the portfolio analysis. Look at the overall number of products the company is producing. Look at how long they're in the market. Look at their sales. Look at the trends associated with the sales for each one. Try to determine which one is close to the end of its product life cycle, which one is in the growth phase, or which one should be, in a sense, pushed harder within the market. And couple this up with the new product program that we talked about a few moments ago. Now, the determination of strategic options. Well, look at past and current strategies. It's always good to look back at strategies which, even perhaps some that have failed, because they are good indicators of what went wrong and where management failed to recognize some particular issue. We learn from our mistakes, and it's important that management look at past strategies, look at ones which succeeded, looks at ones which failed, and try to distill out of that some sort of learning, a program of learning. And it's probably best done in workshop situations with colleagues, with fellow managers, where they can all contribute towards an analysis of what went wrong and why it went wrong and what to watch out for in the future. It's a good way of learning and refining current strategic thinking. Look at strategic problems. Problems about acquiring the right workforce, or getting the raw materials in on time, raw materials of a particular quality. Look at the distribution that's going to be used, the reliability of the distribution. Look at changes in the consumer base. Look at changes within society, and try to, out of all of this, try to work out what's the best way forward, given that the business confronts so many problems. Look at the organizational capabilities and constraints. The company can't do everything. It sometimes has to prioritize. And if it chooses one course of direction, it can't do the second one. It can't do the other one because it doesn't have the resources or the time or the effort available to complete two tasks. It has to pick one. And if it picks one and it's the wrong one, then that could be a disaster. So it's important that there's a careful analysis of the constraints and have some sort of idea about what to do in the event of failure. Perhaps a rapid turnover from one project to another to try and retrieve the situation, if that is required. Look at the financial resources. What financial resources are available for the business to pursue its objectives. Look at the cash flow situation to ensure that current bills can be paid and that the reputation of the business is not damaged by inability to pay bills on a regular basis. So look at the financial resources of the business. And overall, just look at the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths of management, the strengths of the workforce, the age structure of the capital they're working with, the plant layout, the distribution channels that you're using, the communications channels with the customers and the market. Look at all of these and try to determine which ones are good, which ones are weak, which ones need support. So in this video we've looked at a lot of points related to strategic management. It's really a list of points. There is no definitive answer, as you've probably worked out from these classes. But there is issues that are very important in the context of setting strategic goals. So this is part 2 out of part 3, three-part set on this one. So please look at the last video as well. But that's all we're going to deal with here, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.